McFarlane Studios, home to your favorite toys and comics, and I got a super rare peek at over 30 years of Todd McFarlane's very own private collectibles, where I found some pretty wild stuff, like this bustier worn by Madonna herself. So let's have some fun and hit the road to Phoenix, Arizona and visit my old pal Todd McFarlane. Mr. Todd McFarlane.
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing, sir?
Chris, what are you doing?
It's so good to see you. I'm coming over for a hug.
What?
I'm coming over.
On camera hug?
On camera hug.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
how you been?
I've been great. How are you doing?
Good, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is how your last name is spelled, huh?
That's right. In case you don't know, always put it 12 feet across in every place you have. I figure if lawyers can have their names, then why can't I? No, actually, here's what happened. We used to have a store, and it was where we sold toys. And this was out front.
Oh.
And then when the store went, away, I just went, not giving away that sign. We got to be able to repurpose it. So we just took it from in front of the building and jammed it up on here.
Does it light up?
Oh yeah, it does. Oh. Yeah, right here. Not very bright, but a little bit right here. Right?
That's cool though. No, that's awesome.
Just a little bit of sassy lighting.
No, it's nice. I like it's like Hellfire.
Got lots to show you.
Oh.
I mean, I've been doing this for decades, dude. So I hope you got a lot of film in the camera. So on the walls on both sides, right, we've got these shells here and we rotate them, so we're rotating this one out. This is basically our headline. So whatever we have that's coming out that's fairly new, we put it up front, and then we get our next wave, we pull them out, and we put the next ones in. When we get people coming for business, we just want to sort of set the stage as much as we can before they get into the conference room. Just hit them with as much sort of visuals as you can.
Why does this body look so familiar?
I used to go in there and I used to scan. I used to be at all the rock and rollers, right? So all the skinny rock and rollers, you're gonna see the Motley Crue and that. All those guys are me. So let's talk about this guy for a sec, right? This guy's pretty hefty.
This is genuinely creepy.
Okay, so when we started Image Comics in 1992, we were going out to conventions trying to promote. I lived in Portland at that time. And I went to this store one time and there was these creepy, odd pieces of artwork that were fish. And I got the name of the guy, went to him. He built me a 7-foot Violator, and he built me this one. These are made out of paper mache. If you look at it, you can see all the strips of piece of paper. This is paper mache.
That's amazing.
Everything he does here. And then the thing that's kind of cool about this is he goes out and buys like real pants. This is actually real shorts. And then he had a friend that was, and some people say, oh, Todd, that's gross. I think it's cool. He had a friend that was a dentist. So the dentist would pull rotten teeth from people and save them for his buddy. And so those are all real teeth from the mouths of other people.
So they're grown-up teeth.
They're grown-up, ripped out, rotted teeth here. So here's another wall of, you can call it bragging a presentation. What all this is supposed to do is, you see the front window, you come in the lobby, you see the name of the presentation, whatever else, you see the awards, whatever else, you see all this, and then you get to the conference room. And so by the time they get there, what I'm hoping for is that whoever comes in goes, wow, he must be pretty legit. Look at all this stuff and look at the awards and whatever else. So they're already half sold before they even sit down for the meeting.
I haven't gotten to the conference room yet, and I'm already like, wow, there's a Gene Simmons guitar just hanging out.
Yeah, Hard Rock Cafe or something like that, right? People give you items, right? When you work with people or whatever. I mean, so I give them stuff, they give me stuff. So you get it, so you can, I guess, hide it away, or you can put it up because you get the reaction that I just got from you, which is just kind of cool. All right, so now we're going to come to the comic book office here, and it's not as big as you might imagine. We get big sales, big results, but visually.
Is this where the magic happens?
You know what? We put out the monthly books, right? We now do 4, and we've got a bunch we're going to be announcing here at New York Comic Con. But this is just again showing off some of the artwork here, right? These are actually original pieces of artwork. So this is Jonathan Galampian. He did a bunch of inking over almost the entire run of over Greg Capullo's Batman. This is Thomas Knocklick. He's working on Sam and Twitch series right now for me. Okay, so you have your comic book. So here's King Spawn #1. Set the record for the biggest sales for 21st century for a new title.
I have that book.
There's the pencil, and then I inked Greg right here. So this is the original artwork of Greg and I here for this cover. Puppeteer Lee did this cool cover that almost makes it look like the cape is like bat wings and whatever else. I remember when this came in, I was just blown away by it. But man,
that's incredible.
Yeah, no, this kid is way too talented.
You don't even have it in a frame.
I just got it.
Okay.
I just got it. He gave it to me surprise. I thought he sold it years ago, right? Like when it first came out, it set the record. I thought somebody would have cashed him out. But then I just came back from vacation and I got here and Thomas says, hey, we have a surprise for you. And he goes, Puppeteer wants to know what your reaction is. And I opened it up and it was like, wow.
Now you actually ink at this desk?
Oh yeah, no, I did. I like all of issue 300, 301.
Can I sit here?
Yeah, sure. I used to sit there.
This is nice.
Yep.
This is nice. It feels broken in. Now, is this every Spawn book ever published behind us?
Thomas Healy, who's the editor-in-chief, is the one that organized it. If it's not every one, it's pretty close because we have to reference. You know, sometimes I have a story or somebody wrote something and we have to just double check it. And I do a lot of, I don't know if you know much about the Spawn comic book, but I do these asterisks in these boxes because I used to see them in Marvel books and I used to like it, right? It's like asterisk, see issue 144. And you go get 144 and you go, oh my God, that did happen. So I have to keep referencing back. I go, I know what I've written, I just don't know exactly what issue. So we have to have them. So this is all the Spawns. I mean, we're just getting to issue 350.
How many issues did you get to before you realized I need to have this catalog here ready because I'm losing track of?
It would be since issue 2, right? Because the story of Spawn's living costume came about because it wasn't really living when I first created him. It's just that I'm the worst referencer in the business because I'm just like deadline. So I guess in issue #1 I was drawing it, I wasn't paying attention, and then people would send in letters and go, Todd, how come Spawn had 6 spikes on his left arm and now he's got 3 spikes on his right arm, and he had the pack on his left leg and now the pack's on his right leg? And there's only 2 answers, Chris, when you get to that point. You either just go, I messed up and I'm an idiot, or the costume is alive and it can just move and do what it wants. And actually, it may have been one of the great decisions I ever made, because once you know that arguably you never have to reference any of your pages ever again, because you can just always push it away to, oh, it's just a costume just undulating all the time. Shoot, you can get through your deadlines really quickly, right? Like, just like, did he have 2 eyes or 1 eye? I don't care. It's the costume.
Do you ever come in here and just marvel at your body of work and just sort of get overwhelmed with how much you've put out?
No, but intellectually, here's the only time that it strikes me as odd. My first Spider-Man I ever bought, Amazing Spider-Man. I started collecting late, right? So I was like 16. The first Spider-Man I ever bought, Amazing Spider-Man 167. I have clarity exactly where I was when I bought it. So 167, that means that comic book had only been around for like 14 years, 13, 14 years, 167. By the time I got to draw it, I had to grow up, teach myself, break in the comic book, make my chops, and then be able to get to Amazing Spider-Man. And my first issue was 298. And now I'm at 350 with Spawn. So when I go, so Spawn got 50 more issues than when I basically did my first issue, or it's over double what it was when I bought the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Right. And I thought Spider-Man had been around forever.
Yeah.
Oh, at those points, then I go, wow, time is passing by. And given that we know that we started in 1992, you just do the math, right? I now know that any human being on this planet who's 31 or younger has never spent a day on this planet where my character didn't exist.
And it's probably a record that's never going to be broken, to be honest. I mean...
No.
No. He's like, no, it's not going to be broken.
No, it won't, because we're going to do math. So let's do the math. So you do 120 every 10 years. Okay, so at 360, I'm at 30 years, right? So if I go another 30 years, which I plan on doing it, then I'll be up to over 700 issues. So somebody needs to beat that record. You have to start at 20. I don't even know who this 20-year-old is that exists. And they have to be sitting there right now saying, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it till I'm 81 years old, and I'm not gonna stop. And then I'll beat Todd.
Millions of people collect Todd McFarlane stuff, myself included. I think I have Todd McFarlane signatures in every room in my house.
Oh, wow, thanks.
But what does Todd McFarlane collect?
Hopefully you have a lot of film in your camera, because
this is a lot.
I collect a lot of different stuff, right? So let's just go.
I don't even want to turn around yet.
No, let's just go through, like, I've got like these little piles of collections, right?
Yes.
So tabletop board games.
Okay.
I play tabletop board games. Mostly, they're not fantasy. Most of them are like war-based games. So I've got like 4 or 5 here, right? So this is Navajo Wars. We've got, World War II here. We've got Gandhi and his revolution that he did. So I've got probably 120 board games, right?
Wow.
There's a place called Vassal. You can play them. And I play on Vassal against people all around the world. Like every now and then someone goes, are you Todd McFarlane? I'm playing against you? Yeah, cool. You're not gonna be able to see this, but let's just start about some other collecting stuff. I also bought like Madonna's bustier from one of her big popular concerts back then. And then over here, her outfit from A League of Their Own.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So again, it just used to be silly stuff. I ended up putting stuff out there. Hot Wheels, right? When we were a kid living up in Canada, we came down to California for a bit, and it was just when Hot Wheels were coming out. We bought them. We came up to Canada. Hot Wheels weren't out yet. We were the kings of the block for about a year. But the two that were basically getting branded with Hot Wheels were these two guys that were doing funny cars and dragsters. One was called Don Perdome. He was the snake, and then Tom McEwen was the mongoose. So it was snake and mongoose, right? And so they had different looks of them when they went throughout time.
Oh, man.
And so, man, I've got more. I also play board games. Go back to board games.
Yes.
I played
these are some older board games, too.
I played tons of sports stuff, right? And so you can play soccer, so you can be Messi, or you can be whatever team you want. You can buy all the different leagues. If you want to sit there, you can play football. I got boxing, racing games, which is basically thoroughbred racing. So you can replay the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown. Hockey, look at this. Hockey, you could play Gretzky versus Mario Lemieux.
Now, do they come out with a different one of these games every year?
Sure.
Yeah, okay,
So,
with new stats each year.
Right. So like the baseball, which is the one here, I've got from 1901 to today.
You've got all...
And some of them, after 20, 30 years, they redo the math because they get better at the math. And so I've got like the 1963 season from the original year it came out in 63. And then I've got the updated version in 1985. And then I've got the second updated version that just came out a few years ago that just keeps fine-tuning the math. Now,
out of all these games, which one do you find yourself playing the most often?
Baseball.
Tell me about this oldest box of Kraft macaroni I've ever seen before.
So they give you up in Canada, you buy Kraft macaroni, on the back you got cards. So this one has 2 cards. One of them is actually the checklist, and the other one, Wayne Gretzky, my hero, Wayne Gretzky right here. This is over 40 years old. This chart, I made this chart when I was 16 years old, 17 years old.
Is it your comic collection?
This is my comic collection. This is how I used to. This is only my DC chart. I had a Marvel chart too. And so I'd put all the names of all the comics. I'd put the month they were coming out, and then I'd put the number of the issue. And if I got it, I would color it in. All right, so we got a bunch of apparel. So I'm not going to go through all of it. So we'll just go through a couple of them. But you take the top one here. I'm going to put it on. 1977, Todd McFarlane's high school
jacket. Look at that, still fitting in it.
Still fits me like a damn glove. Quarterback, Todd McFarlane, 1977 City Champs. All right, let's look at some of the other stuff. Korn, right? I mean, sports. I did music with them.
Yeah, you've got a good history with Korn. Oh, this is the coolest bowling shirt.
Bowling shirt.
That's amazing.
Bowling shirt. We're going quick. Come on, we got lots.
Okay, yeah, we got lots of them.
This was me doing Fantasy League with Steve Jeppy, guy who owns Diamond Distributors. He also owns a piece of the Oilers, so he was always bugging me. Go, come on. I was the stud MVP that tournament. This is me when I played in college during the summer. That ended up, this team was where I got discovered, ended up playing 3 years at Pac-10. We sponsored hockey teams. I designed for the Edmonton Oilers. I was involved with the ownership, right? So I designed the 3rd jersey for him. That was the best-selling 3rd jersey of all time.
That's awesome.
John Brockington was my hero, first guy ever to do 3 seasons in a row. His first 3 seasons, 1,000 yards.
Wow.
And I got to meet him one time. I found out he ended up living in San Diego, so I was going to San Diego Comic-Con. He phoned me like 2 weeks before and said, hey, Todd, I Googled my name, and I keep seeing your name next to it, because I kept saying John Brockington, somehow when he Googled it. So I ended up meeting him out front. I go, hey, you want to go into a comic convention? He's like, yeah, I've never been to one. And he came, and he was carrying this. And he goes, here, Todd, that's for you. And so it was on the back. He autographed it. So there's just some stuff that it's like, you go, I will never depart with it. Let's go back to the Hot Wheels for a second. Years later, I ended up going to Mattel and getting them to make a Hot Wheel, a Spawn Hot Wheel. Now, hold up. Just so people don't think it was like, oh, Todd made a toy. It's like a T-shirt and a hat. No. It's based on a real...
That's a real car?
A real car. And then we just collected all different kinds of cards, right? So we had hockey cards going way back, right? We got way back hockey cards. Some of these are O-Pee-Chee. They were hard to... O-Pee-Chee is hard to find in good condition. We got cards here. This is an entire set right here. This is the 1974 Kellogg's set. You used to be able to get these in the cereal boxes, and to get that whole set, you either have to send away the box top or you have to collect it. That's the entire set.
So how much cereal do you think you ate to get those?
Well, look, I'm going to tell you how we got a lot of these, and I shouldn't. So moms, if you're in the room, basically leave. This is how we used to get a lot of them, because it was like getting aggravated. Once you got like 60 out of 65, you would get duplicates. And you'd get mad, and you'd need like the schmucks, and you'd go, oh, not another Willie Mays. Oh, not another Sandy Koufax. Like, you'd get mad that you were getting the Hall of Famers because you needed the schmucks to complete your set, right? Yeah. So we would go, so pretend this is where all the cereals are, and then here's the right here. And then I had 2 brothers, and then one brother would stand this way and block. The other one would stand this way and block, and then I had the X-Acto blade. And then they would sit there and they'd go, go, go. And when I heard double go, that means nobody was coming either way. And the machines put the cards in the same spot, so we knew where the cards were. So I could pull out the Raisin Bran or the cornflakes and go, what, and cut. Put my hand, because I knew what it was on the back side, you go down and you pull them out, and you would get essentially this. Here it is. Literally, this is what it looked like, because this is one from 1972 that's never been opened. And this was on the outside. It wasn't inside the cereal. It was on the outside between the cardboard, so we would get those all day long. We would usually leave pretty quickly if we were in the cereal aisle, but when we did the end caps, we would stick around, because inevitably somebody would come, some mom would come and go, oh, I need some of those, and she'd pick them up like this, and there's no bottom, because we just cut them out. And she'd go, what? And she'd pick up another one. Because we'd do about 7 or 8 before we basically ditched out, right? Like, our mom never knew, and she would have scolded us really bad, but we ended up getting a good collection. So let's talk about the Kellogg's, and then we can get out and we can go talk about something else. This set right here is the 1971 Kellogg's set. And there's 75 of them, the largest set that was ever there. Here's the thing about this set. This set is all PSA 10. This is the #1 set on the PSA registry. So I have sets, and to prove that I'm not just BSing you, at some of the years they give you right here, best of the registry, right? So that you know that I've got sets, I got multiple sets of baseball cards.
How long did it take you to put this together?
Probably 2.5 years.
Wow.
And oddly, because these are these 3D cards, they crack. And so the hardest cards of every set to get is the #1 and the last one, because people would put them in with rubber band, and they would wreck the top and the bottom cards, or they would crack because they were the ones that were exposed the most.
Right.
But then people started figuring out there were errors on it, and so they corrected the errors and they printed it, so there's now a whole master set. I used to have the #1 master set, but then I didn't. You can send it in and they'll regrade it for you for free, because it's the same card.
Right.
But I haven't done it and somebody passed me up. The guy I was in competition with was the mayor of Oklahoma City. I was always like going after him. It was like Mick, what are we doing here? And it's like, and he would snipe me on a card that I wanted. And he would snipe me, and then I found out he was the mayor. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I thought you're the mayor. You should be busy. What are you doing at 2:30 in the morning, at 2:30 in the afternoon on eBay, beating me on a card that you already got? I already look at your registry. Because what he would do, he would try and dick block me. He would just go, there's like one of one, he'd have it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a second one would come, and he goes, Todd's going to get it. So I go, two can play it that way. So I started buying cards that I knew he needed, right? So I go, I don't care. Here's $300. I'll buy that PSA 10. Shoot, so what? I got one of them. You don't have any. So eventually we got to like each other. We started swapping each other up. But Mick doesn't know that, like, if I wanted to, he's got the #1 master set. I could beat him tomorrow because I've got all PSA 10s with the errors. I just haven't sent them in. So if he ever gets out of line, or if I sell them, I'm sending them in. I'm getting it done, and I'm going to the top of the charts, right?
I think you should.
So that I can say, hey, I'm selling the #1 set in the nation.
Now, do we have any actual baseballs? Because I've heard legendary stories about some baseballs.
Oh, yes, we do. Hold it. Let's go talk about baseballs. Now, my wife used to go, Todd, why are you carrying them around in like little bags? Because it's like, if you act like something's valuable, people will like, and you draw attention to yourself, people will pay attention. In here are some of the biggest balls in sports history. So, like in the 1998 season, and this is where sort of I started making a reputation when I bought the McGuire 70 ball, when he broke the record, right?
Yeah.
The first ball I bought, he hit a home run on opening day.
Yep.
I bought his first ball. So I've got that. Now, so let's talk about some weird balls. Sammy Sosa's 33rd. Why would you buy Sammy Sosa's 33rd? I'll tell you why. This was the 21st home run that Sammy Sosa hit in 1 month. It's a major league record. This is a major league record ball. Of all the records, I think this is the one that's going to last the longest. Who's hitting 22 home runs in 1 month? That's Little League. Like, what are you talking about? That's Little League. You're not going to hit 22. But this is when Sammy Sosa literally got competitive with McGuire. Mm-hmm. Once he had that monster season, I think it was in June, all of a sudden it was like, boom, there's two guys. They're going with it. Every ball, let me just say, the record member is 61, Roger Maris. Every ball that wasn't given back to Mark McGuire, right, that was not given back to Mark McGuire after he hit 61, I have it. So either Mark got it or I have it. This is the 69 one, right? And I don't know if you can see here. Let me, I'll open up one of the other ones. But I bought the 69 ball because I heard that the guy who did the Beanie Babies was thinking of buying the 70 ball. And his thing was he's going to buy, and he knew it was going to cost him a lot of money, and then he was going to explode it, and he was going to take the threads that make up a ball on the inside and put it into like 10,000 Beanie Babies and mark it up and get his money back. So I was going, what am I hearing? And I knew that I had some intel. And I went, well, if he blows up number 70, aren't people going to go, who's got 69? It's going to be the only ball that's intact. So I bought 69 first. Right? Before the auction, I took it off the market. And then I went, okay, if I don't get 70, or if that guy blows it up, I got 69. So that it was why I took it.
You are a true 64. Collectible tactician.
Oh, Sammy Sosa 66. Why do you want Sammy Sosa 66?
Tell me why.
For two reasons. One, if you're looking at home run, there's 3 home run records now. McGuire, or Bond 73, because again, I bought the 70, but a couple years later, Bond breaker. Bond 73, McGuire 70, Sosa 66 is third. That's the bronze. Oh, by the way, on Friday of 1998, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this is the piece that people don't remember. Sammy Sosa, when he hit 66, he was ahead of Mark McGuire. If you look at these balls here, all of them have, I don't know if you can see at the end of the word Rawlings, there's a number. Major League Baseball was putting numbers now on both Sosa's and McGuire, so they could now know that if a ball went into the stands for a home run, they knew what number it was, right? So the bat boy was bringing them ball, let's say 46, 47, 48, 49. The umpire put in 46, foul ball. Put in 47, foul ball. 48, foul ball. 49, boosh! And they knew it was a home run. And then security would go to the guy who said, I caught it, I caught it. And then the security was hooked up to the booth, and they'd go, what number is on the ball? And the guy go, 49. And I go, yeah, that's the ball. So they were, it's a simple way of doing it, but they were able to basically authenticate it like that quickly, right? Oddly enough, the 70 ball, and this is the one I spent way, way, way too much money on, right? This is the big boy ball, right? So if you can see that up close, and maybe I get some B-roll, the number on that ball, what is it?
73.
3 years later, Barry Bonds would come in and hit 73 home runs, right? Like, it was staring me in the face that it's like, dude, don't get too comfortable, because 73 home runs is coming along 3 years later, right? So then the Barry Bonds then sets the record.
Can I just touch that ball?
Yeah, you can hold it.
Oh man. That's
Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire's ball.
That is so cool.
Okay. Eventually he breaks the record at the end, right? They go, you're going to bid? No. You're going to bid? No. You're going to bid? No. And ESPN was going live, and they go, come on, Todd, we'll put you on live. Now, I don't know if you know how much time it costs to basically get commercial space on ESPN, right? It's a lot. But they're going to put me on for 20 minutes for free? My plan was go to $500,000 and then pull out, get 20 minutes of free press, we're good. I go in, we do it, I get hooked up, we go. I get to $500,000, and then I go, I'm out. And then I could hear in my earpiece, going once, anybody else? Going twice, and I'm like, what? Now I knew there were money people in there because you have to show your bank account before you walk into that room.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what? And I think, like I said, everybody knew that I paid so much and that it got broke 3 years later. They just thought it was going to get, the record was going to get broke every 3 years. So nobody went there. So guess who's got Barry Bonds' 73 ball? So here's the big boy. This is the big boy. This is the Barry Bonds 73 ball right here. And so now I've got 73, 70, 66. I got the gold, silver, and the medal. Why would I spend that much money on a baseball? I was in the toy business, and I was trying to get into sports, and I couldn't get into sports. They would not allow me. They wouldn't take a meeting with me. All of a sudden, I buy the Mark McGwire ball. Yeah. I get headlines literally on the front page of every major newspaper in this country. And so it literally was my ante at the poker table with the big boys. And I ended up like, I couldn't get them to answer my phone call. I'm now in their office, and in short order, I get football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. And you know how much profits I made over the next 15 years in those?
I'm guessing enough to pay for these balls.
10 times over. I was going to spend $3 million in advertising anyways over the course of 15 years. I just put it into this gamble. And over here.
Now you have a piece of baseball history.
And I got the ball.
Yeah. All right, are we ready to move on to some comics? Oh man, amazing. So let's talk about some of your personal collection.
Okay, so obviously before I broke into comic books, I was a collector. And at some point my collection got up to as big as 25,000 copies of comic book. Now, it wasn't 25,000 different. If I thought it was going to be a key book, I'd buy 10 of them, right? Or I worked at a comic book store and I wasn't able to get paid as a Canadian in America when I was going to college. So they would pay me in comic books. So I would just take it in comic books. I go, oh man, Teen Titans #1, George Perez, I'll take 7. Oh, Frank Miller coming on to Daredevil, I'll take 7. Oh man, the Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, I'll take 7. Like, I just would get multiples of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Of all, and I knew who the hot guys were and whatever else. But I was a geek that, and I used to like oddball stuff. I got some here that are some of like Conan, again, not superhero stuff.
Yeah.
DC had a bunch of like horror stuff that I would get, the unexpected. Black Panther, right? I didn't buy that because I was a geek. I remember literally probably within the first 30 days of collecting, this was one of the first books that I ever bought. Howard the Duck, right? He's just weird. Like, who doesn't like Howard the Duck? It was just such a goofy sort of book that was in Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah.
There's also another book called Marvel Team Up that was Spider-Man and somebody every month. I just like team-up books. I don't know why. I thought they were goofy. But once you buy some of these, then you go, hey, there's this thing called grading. We should get some stuff grading. So I got like some graded books here. Let's see if we go through some because I've got a bunch of goofy stuff. Now, this may seem vain because this stack here is my stuff, but there's a couple of reasons why I have some of this stuff. These 1, 2, 3, 4, these are all Spider-Mans that are graded, and I've signed them all, but the reason I got them graded is because way more important, I don't know if you can see down here, Stan Lee signed them. So I got to spend a lot of time with Stan Lee, probably was on stage with him more than any other human being. And so Stan and I had a nice relationship. So like, and especially now that he's gone, I'm like, oh man, Stan signed that. Like here's another one, Stan, Todd, Stan. I didn't even care if the grade was good. I didn't even care, right? I just was like, Stan's on my book. And then he was such a nice guy. Every now and then I'd get something in the mail, right? He would just write a note, send it to me, and I'm like, oh man, thanks, Stan.
Oh, that's
and
incredible.
then I'd go, right, so Stan stuff, cool. Oh, and now, but then here's a couple that are like just a little bit near and dear. My first book that I ever did, although there was a pinup that was Infinity, but the first book I ever did was Coyote, right here, number 11. So that's sort of like if you're collecting McFarlane stuff, that's the beginning of it. But this is Coyote 11, signed by Stan. So it's me and
that's
Stan.
awesome.
I don't know if you can see it. It's dark right here, right? But I just like, man, my first book and Stan Lee signed it. That's super cool, right? So to me, every time I see that book, I get flashback of start of your career right here, start of your career right here. And then this one, again, you know, it's got a good grade, 9.8.
Classic,
it's again, a big book, right? The Origin of Venom, anniversary book, and this is the first book I penciled and inked of Spider-Man, right? Because Bob McLeod inked 298, 299, right? But this one has my signature, Stan's signature here, and then David McFarlane, who is the writer. So we got the writer, penciler, inker, and then Stan Lee, creator of Spider-Man, on there, and it's a 9.8, right? And it's a Stan label, so kind of super cool. Right?
That's super cool.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, there's some that you just go, oh, and I've got, like I said, I only.
No, these are all. I'm trying to like contain my excitement for all of these, but it's hard.
Yeah. So and then some of them, again, these don't have Stan, but these are just, again, some of my own. But again, you try to get some that are 9.8s, right, and get some good grades on them. So these are all 9.8s of my books that are sitting in there.
I love that cover.
So that's cool. And then let's go back to Stan. That every now and then we'd be goofing around and whatever else, and he'd be sitting next to me and he goes, "Give me that damn book," right? Because I did a lot of things with him, and he was like sitting right next to me. So I've got Stan Lee signed Spawn. Now again, how many people got Stan Lee to sign a Spawn?
I'm thinking one.
Maybe. So I got my Stan Lee signed Spawn 9.4. I got my Stan Lee signed Spawn 9.6. I got my Stan Lee Spawn like 9.8 and another Stan Lee 9.8. Now again, he did these all 4 different times.
I noticed you have 2 of those.
He did these at different times because like this one is in black, this one's in gold, right? So I'd just be sitting there and I'd have like a stack of comic books. I would be giving them away or something. And he'd go, "Give me one of those books." And he would sign it. In all honesty, I think he just had such bad eyes that he looked like Spider-Man. He just went, this cover? Oh yeah, that's right. That looks like my Amazing Fantasy. Oh yeah, that looks like a Spider-Man. I think maybe his bad eye, he signed it and didn't know. I wasn't gonna do it because I remember the first time I was like, "Stan, no." But then after I caught myself when I went, Stan Lee signed a Spawn. That might be the only one on the planet.
And it's the Spider-Man inspired Spawn.
Yeah, that one and that. All 4 of them. So there he is in the crouch. Those are the Spider-Man crouch. This is basically patterned and homaged after Amazing Spider-Man 300. And then this is Amazing Fantasy.
Yeah.
Right here. So it's like, okay, if you're going to do 4 random ones, I got lucky that we're there. So those are fun books for me to have too.
Those are so cool.
And then I just got like some goofy stuff that are just. This one's sort of fun because it's only an 8, but it's the first king size Submariner. But what's super cool about it, if you can see it, like Stan Lee signed right across his face. He was a bit notorious for that he would like go, "I'm just gonna go right across the best piece of art, right across the face." Do
you know why he did that?
Across the face? I think depending on when he signed it, again, his eyesight was going, and so people would just point and he would just sign, right? And so I don't think he quite could see the nuance of the artwork. This one is Submariner issue number 1, not signed by anybody, but just number 1 issue. It's cool, right? Howard the Duck number 1, cool. Doctor Strange number 1, and this one's actually
9.6.
Yeah, this one's actually in good condition, 9.6. So just, again, oddball stuff that I get from time to time graded. And then this one, again, not the best, but Stan Lee is signed it. So this is why, to me, it's worth way more than the 6.5, because I'm like, Stan Lee signed that, super cool. And then I used to, like when I first started collecting, one of the things that came out really sort of soon in my comic book collecting, I'm probably 17 now at this point, was annuals used to come out. I used to like annuals, right? And this annual came out, and it was like super cool. And I don't remember which one went which.
Now, what was it you liked about the annuals?
That they were double sized.
Yeah.
So you're going, I get 2 issues for the price of 1, and they had sort of a square bound, and it just felt like beefy. And I'm like, oh man, and they're like double the price, 60 cents. Oh man, I got to break the bank on it. But this came out, and I'm trying to think what order it is. I should know better. But at the end of one of them, it says to be continued. I went, I got to wait a whole year for the next annual? And it was
I paid double for this book?
What? But it said no, to be continued in another annual that was coming out like in a couple weeks. And so these were the 2 books, the Marvel 2-in-1 and the Avengers. And this was that whole thing that now today that we know in hindsight is Thanos and all the movie story is based on the Jim Starlin stuff. This was it, right?
Yeah.
I just liked it because it was like, wow, 2 annuals going there. And then you get into some of the sort of the big boy ones. Again, a purple label means there's been a little bit of restorations. When I bought some of these books, nobody wanted ratty books.
Yeah.
Everybody was sort of restoring them like a car. And then it got later that people go, no, I'd rather have a less graded original, not restored. And it shifted. But when I started collecting...
Do you think that's cyclical? Like, do you think that people are going to later, like on maybe a couple decades from now, want restored books again and so on and so forth?
I don't know that it's going to be cyclical. I think it's just going to be supply and demand.
Yeah.
At some point, if everybody says, yeah, I'll just want to buy a raw book, but nobody's selling them, but somebody's going to sell me a nice one and it's got a little bit of restoration and it's the only way I'm going to get it, I'll buy it.
Right.
Right? So here's a couple of the ones that I bought during that era. So we got Fantastic Four #1. Who doesn't want this? Is again, Marvel Comics. Most people think Marvel Comics starts with Spider-Man. No, Marvel Comics starts with Fantastic Four #1. This is Marvel Comic Book's first book ever, right here. And then they go, hey, let's see if we can do some other cool stuff. So then they got Amazing Fantasy 15. They put up this guy, Spider-Man, and they go, okay, and they go, shoot, he did so well, we better give him his own book. So you got Amazing Fantasy, and they give him his own book.
Shut up.
And it's Amazing Spider-Man #1, right? Boom, boom, right? And then sometimes I'd go way back in the...
I'm seeing what's coming up also, and that's...
Yeah. So now...
No!
So here it is, Batman #2. Batman #2. Again, it's not bad. It's got some restoration down in the corner, but it's kind of a cool, sexy book. And then the one that everybody sort of Googles about, and you see it right here.
I see it.
Right? Is that you got to have your own Action Comics #1 comic book. Now,
yeah, you got to.
Now again, it's not going to fetch a big price like some of the other ones, right? Because it's got a purple label on it. But if you look at the pages and you open this book up, this thing is nice. Now, I bought this book when the Batman movie was coming out, or had just come out.
Which Batman movie?
The Tim Burton, like the very first
89.
Batman. 89.
Yeah.
Right? The 89 Batman. It was just coming out. And all the Batman stuff was skyrocketing. And all the Joker stuff was skyrocketing. And everybody was Batman, 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 Batman. And I was sitting back going, isn't Superman Action Comics #1 the thing that started this?
Yeah.
Everybody's just a little bit drunk right now with emotions because the movie's out. Eventually, this hangover is going to go away, and people are going to remember Action 1 is the first book.
Right.
So
you've had this book for over 30 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I think, off the top of my head, like about the same condition of Detective 27, which was Batman. Those were going for like 25, 26,000, right? I got this one for like $17,000, right?
Wow.
So I'm like going, it was a lot of money back then, but $7's not bad. $7's not bad on that book. So who doesn't want an Action Comics #1?
These are the books that inspired young Todd McFarlane. So do you have any young Todd McFarlane art that we can get into?
Yeah. So when I'm collecting this at 16, right? Then all of a sudden I'm going, oh, man, I'm the artist. I was a doodler.
Yep.
And I just go, I'm going to teach myself this style. And what is this style? Americana superhero comics. So I started teaching myself how to draw in this vein. I've got a bunch over here I can show you.
Now, I've heard stories of you submitting hundreds of letters, submissions to different companies.
Yep. I would send like all of these out to somebody. This was the company, and then I'd put a check mark if they gave me a letter back and when I got the letter. You know, as I was sending them, right, I was getting some of them back, right? So these are all rejection. DC, and some of them are super nice. Al Milgram was nice. Roy Thomas eventually gave me a job, so it was good that I got there.
Yeah.
Comics Journal, First Comics, right? Marvel Comics, right? I mean, like they were coming. They came on a steady basis. First Comics got rejected a couple. Like I didn't really take it personal because most people who sent something back to you gave you constructive criticism. Okay, here's one here. So there's one in here. This from Marvel Comics. Some of them are pretty short and sweet. So this is April 6th, 1983. Dear Todd, pretty good, not quite there. I see occasional lapses in the drawing and your anatomy and your proportions. You need to work on that on a bit of a steady basis. I've included my shooter's page guide in the future. Best of luck, Jim Shooter. So this is all original artwork. But there's Conan. I was using the wrong tool, using ballpoint pens and stuff like that. Here's Superman, right? I made the head too big. This is one of the few early Spider-Mans I did. But I would do a lot of doodling and stuff like this, right? So this is sort of Neil Adams inspired stuff I would follow. This is a comic book that I tried to do for the first time. Some page-to-page stuff. This is me trying to do George Perez machinery down here. You know, they started getting a little bit better. So here's a Wolverine. This one's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
That one's not bad. Here's another Wolverine, not bad. Not looking okay. And eventually, I just wore them out, and they eventually said, "Yeah, give the kid a job." And when I was doing some of the samples, look at this is the very first Spider-Man I ever did. Oh. So I'm probably 16 at this point. I'm teaching myself.
You did that when you were 16?
Yeah, but you can see it's clumsy. The anatomy isn't very good in hindsight. Then it's clumsy. This is really sort of static.
Yeah, but it's still awesome to see that progress.
Spider-Man goes and beats up on Magneto. And if you look at the background, there's a lot of George Perez machinery in there, right? Eventually, like I said, I get the phone call, and then I go Infinity Incorporated, go back over to Marvel after I'm done with Infinity, and then very quickly, Bob Harris, the editor over there, says, "Hey, you want to do the Hulk?" And that was sort of kind of the moment that, like, because you're now doing a character that people know, and now you weren't getting paid anymore, but it's like now that people feel like you're legit because, well, I've heard of the Hulk, you must be good. They asked me at one point they wanted to revamp Wolverine's costume, so they go, "Hey Todd, you want to do a whack at a costume?" So they never took it up, but that's what I sent in to them. There's when I was doing Spider-Man. They wanted me to do a bunch of Spider-Man stuff. Here's an original page of artwork from, what is this, 313. This is the splash page of 313. I don't have that many good Spider-Mans. I sold most of them, right? But so I've got all these sort of odd ones of like non-Spider-Man pages for the most part, right? This is a page from Spider-Man #2. I was in a deadline crunch, so I go, uh-oh, there's a fight. How do I get in and out of this fight? Easy, just use sound effects to beat up everybody. And you just grab, he's done. Grab, he's done. Grab, he's done, right? And if you do it stylistically, people go, "Oh man, that was a clever page." So this is a page from Spider-Man 300.
Oh man!
And this is Venom coming in, walking, and Eddie Brock coming over, and then here's Eddie Brock right here. So I don't have that many pages of Spider-Man stuff. Oh
wow!
These are when I was doing a comic book, I would have to break it into 20 pages, and so I would do thumbnails for myself. So this is an issue, I did an issue of Daredevil, 241. So there's 2 pages there, 1, 2, and then I flipped the page 3, 4. So I just scribbled out real quickly so I knew what I was going to be drawing on the pages. This is Spider-Man 11, the Wolverine, back with the Wendigo. Look at Spider-Man #1. Spider-Man #1. You got Peter Parker with his dear wife, Mary Jane. I just thought that they should be a loving couple. Like I still am in love with my wife, so I just thought that they should be having a lot of fun when they were together. This is the last page of Torment. I mean, So this is when the hand comes out. You think that he's dead, and then the last panel is poof. So this is 298. So my very first issue of Main Spider-Man 298. So I got at least a couple pages from 298, the very first one. This has never seen the light of day. I did like 20 pages of, I think it was called Valda. It was a Valda miniseries that Roy Thomas did for DC. We never printed it. So this is the last issue I ever drew for Marvel, and it was this crossover book, the Sideways issue that I was doing with Rob Liefeld's book, right? X Factor, I think it was. What happens is Spider-Man's facing Juggernaut, and I thought Juggernaut is like, nobody can beat him. There's only one way. He had a slit that was open. So I thought, oh, there's a way to basically beat him.
Shatterstar puts it.
Put the knife in the eye.
Yep.
Buh! You would have thought I killed a baby or something like that. And so all of a sudden I am on the phone with 5 editors and a bunch of people going, Todd, you can't do it, you can't do it. And it's like, why? And I go, and they said, because it's in the Comics Code. And I go, the Comics Code? I've been asking for the Comics Code for 3 years. Why didn't somebody send me the Comics Code? What is the Comics Code? Is there even a copy, or are you guys just making this up? And they're like, well, we don't think it'll work or whatever else. And then the absurd conversation I had, the absurd conversation. They just went, Todd, you can't stab people. I can't stab people. What are you talking about? I just bought an issue of Frank Miller, and the cover is Bullseye gutting Elektra through the gut.
Right.
Oh, no, well, you can do it in the stomach. You're doing it in the eye. Okay, hold sec. So you're saying if I stab him in the arm, I can do it? And I stab him right here? And I stab him right here? And I stab him right here? In the eye? No. But right here? No. I'm going, what are you talking about? So this was my art. This is my unfettered art with the knife in the eye. So I go, here's what's gonna happen. I'm a couple days from having a baby. I'm gonna be a father. I don't know how much that's gonna eat my time. I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep doing this. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna send you some fixes. There's the sword, there's the notes, there's the eyes. That's, if you go buy that comic book, this is what you see. And I'm gonna give you the extra panel of the blood splatter down there. I'm gonna tell you how to fix this. Now, what happens? We start Image Comics, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, get joined by Jim Valentino. We go to New York. All of a sudden, in quick order, I hustle Jim Lee, who brings in Will Portacio, and I hustle Mark Silvestri, literally on the moment. They, like, we went to New York, had no idea they were going to be part of Image, right? We happened to land. We've got a meeting with Marvel. We're going to tell them we're going to quit. And I just happened to run into Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri at 2 different times during the day, and I hustled them. And all of a sudden, they both went, yeah, let's go.
Now, how long had the idea of Spawn been circulating in your head before this?
What are you talking about? Since I was a kid. Since I was a kid, dude. And how do I know that? Because I've got the artwork.
Oh, man.
So here is the cover I did at 16. This is the cover I started at 16. Take a look at the word Spawn. It's got the skull in the middle of it, right? That was it, the big cape. He still kind of sort of looks the same. He's got the same markings. He's got the cow. He's got the big cape, whatever else. This is the 35-page comic book that was in some of those rejection letters I was telling them about right here. This is the comic book I was going to do called Spawn when I was 16, 17 years old. My dad's a printer.
Have you ever thought about releasing this?
I should ink it now. I should ink myself. It'd be probably pretty cool. It wasn't very good back then. Look at Wanda Kalmajek, who helped me with it. She's my wife, right? So Todd and Wanda have been around for a long, long time, since I was 16, 17. So no, to me, I always had Spawn in the back of my head. There's a cool one there. But Spawn, with the big cape, you can start seeing that even the 16, 17-year-old Todd liked capes, right? Here he is, looking cool. Here's I think this is the end of issue number 1, where the bad guy's sitting on the throne saying, hey, I'm gonna get you, Spawn, or something like that. The dialogue's right on there. I haven't gone back and read it. But,
oh, man.
You know, so, but anyways, but it actually ended up, when I ended up reading it, actually was pretty close to what I had done when I was 16, right? So what do? We gotta start a new company. We got to come up with the character. So I reach into my pile, and I go, we're gonna do it. So I get Tom Orzechowski, He does about 10 different logos, and eventually he sends me the one that we land on. This is the Tom Orzechowski one that he sent me right here. I created that logo. I started creating the orb, right? This was the very first attempt at the orb that was that thing that you see on the inside.
Yeah.
The Spawn orb that I've got on here. And then these are pieces of the very first ad. I mean, I'm using literally my own hand-drawing logo because I didn't have a Tom Orzechowski logo at this point. Here are mock-ups of the very first ad for Spawn. Here's the ad. Here's some of the artwork for the ad. It's the only one that's got 1991 on it. Here's the mock-up for the ad for the first issue of Spawn with all my notes on it and stuff. And then, even better, this is the original artwork.
Oh, man.
This is the only piece of artwork of Spawn from 1991. That's the one that you see on all those ads right there.
Oh.
You've seen over and over. That's the original artwork right there.
Oh, God. Oh,
the
man.
original artwork for the cover.
Spawn #1 right there.
So hold that.
Oh.
You hold
Are
that.
you sure I can? I don't know if this feels. I don't know if I'm responsible enough to hold
All right.
this.
And now here's the other piece. This is the official colored, painted Ken Stacy color. This is the official. You can see when you move it in the light.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You can see that that's, he went in, we made a stat of this, and then he painted over it. So there's the original black and white, but there's also the original painted version of it. I've got both of those, right? So again, we have the...
Can I get a picture of this too?
Yes,
is that possible?
Pages 1 through 20. The entire Spawn issue #1. And so let's just look at a couple of them. So here's page 1. And the thing is that we did all the lettering on overlays. So if you peel that off, you see that the lettering comes with it?
Yeah.
Right? So the lettering comes with it. There's the artwork, and then there's the lettering. And if you tee it all up, then you get what was in the comic book. Right?
Yeah, I always thought this was one of the most beautiful pages.
All right, so you get sort of an arty page here. Then you get the introduction of the counter up at the top. Mm-hmm. And then you get a close-up of Spawn, and then eventually unveil my baby on pages 8 and 9. And there's...
In all of his glory.
There he is. There's the first time you see Spawn in full body, full costume right there. Big, fat, 2-page spread. Because I just thought back then, if you're going to do it up big if you get there. But which is a little bit funny. If you look at it, like all these are done on Marvel pages. Like up here, I don't know if you can see that. Like a little Marvel page right here. But here's the last page. And here's sort of Malbolgia here. And then at the end it says, next issue, The Violator. Now sometimes to get ahead of yourself, you can see all the lettering move. To get ahead of yourself, I would do like drawing. So if you flip this page over, I did the first sort of sketch idea that I had a Violator on the back there. So there's sort of the design work.
Why did you name him Violator? Where'd that idea come from?
That one was easy. Everybody has their own way of coming up with names. I was with my wife. She wanted to go pick up a bottle of wine. Up in Canada, you have to go to a liquor store. You can't go into regular stores. That's just not how it worked back then. And so it was busy out front. And so I went down the alleyway and I go, here, I'll just park here. You go get your bottle of wine. I'll just wait for you here. And as I was sitting there, there was a sign there and it says, no parking, violators will be towed away. And I just went, Violator? Man, that's kind of a cool name. So that was it. Sometimes you just pull names from, in the middle of a sentence, you see a word that jumps at you. And to me, and that sign still exists today. I decided not to sell any of my artwork once I started in 1992 because I sort of regretted that I gave a couple away. And I didn't know what was going to happen to Spawn. So I went, why not keep it and see what happens, right? And now we're 350 issues into it. I'm guessing that if I got hit by a bus and all this went up to auction, has a single unit that you could have like an A+ character. And remember, if we get that movie off the ground, all this stuff just gets bigger and wider and whatever, that the first issue is intact, sitting not only in one person's hand, but the creator's hand himself, right? That I don't think that story...
For the past 30 years.
I don't think that story's been written. That usually what happens is painting sells for $1 million, artist dies penniless under a bridge. That's sort of how it works in the fine art industry, right? And I just went, nah, I'm gonna keep some of my own artwork. This is the cover to Spawn 300. So I get to a certain point, and then sometimes I put it in the computer, and then I finish it up. But here's Spawn 300, some sketches or whatever else. This is original artwork for Spawn 299.
Wow.
Just goofy stuff. This is the last page of Spawn 300. Greg Capullo's amazing pencils for that last page. This is all 20 pages of Gunslinger #1. They were going to sell the pages, and then they told me how much they were going to sell for, and I went, what? I'll give you double. Like, what do you, like, dudes, you need a better manager than this. You can get more money than that. And they were like, what, you give us double? Yeah. And then I bought, I think the next issue, I think this is issue #2. I bought this, not, you know, I mean, at some point I go, I don't want to buy all his stuff, but I bought this, maybe it was issue 2 or 3, I don't remember what it was. No, so it's issue 2, pages 2 and 3. And the reason I bought this, at some point I'll be able to say this is the first double page spread. Because there was no double page spread in issue #1. Mm-hmm. So this is the first double page spread of Gunslinger in his history. So I go, I got that page too. This is one of the covers here, but the A cover that Brett Booth did for Gunslinger #1. Mm-hmm. Now, you'll notice that he like did it on the side, and he didn't do it traditionally, because when he took over the book, he said, Tom, I'm going to send you a sketch of what I think he kind of will look like or whatever, and he sent me this. Mm-hmm. And I went, are you out of your mind? We're making a cover out of that. And he went, no, that's just a sketch. And I go, dude, that's going to be the cover of Gunslinger #1, one of the Gunslinger, but that's going to be the A1.
Yeah.
And I go, and you're going to sell me that cover because it's super awesome. And then Brett did 3 issues, or 3 covers, and he connected, here, hold that. He connected the 3 covers together. So he did a cover for King Spawn, he did a cover for Gunslinger, and I inked it. And I'm telling you, dude, I got a blister on my fingers by the time I was done inking his stuff. And he did one for Scorch, and to me, but if you put all 3 of them together, there's like, I think like 105 characters on there.
Wow.
And then I inked it, and then EFCO colored it. And when you see all 3 of these together, I mean, it's a magnificent panel. King Spawn 1, King Spawn 1, the original artwork, King Spawn 1, Greg Capullo, inked by Todd, and then the piece that sort of blows my mind.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. Right?
Puppeteer Lee. So I've got 2 King Spawn #1s.
We've also got some movie stuff here, right?
Here's Wanda. I think Greg Capullo helped with some of the stuff here. He was in early on it. And then you have to do like backgrounds, right? You have to do backgrounds and not only create them black and white, but then you got to eventually paint them. And then you have to do the cell. So here's one cell. This is Spawn with the Cagliostro. And the way they do it is that they literally draw it in reverse. They draw it in reverse, and then they paint it on the back. If you feel you run your hand across it, you're going to feel how thick and gunky that is. But then when you turn it around the other way, then you get what you're going to see on the screen. And then if you take that and you put that on top of a background, then you start getting the moody feel of what the show is going to be. And if you crop it right, you're going to get all that dark, moody stuff. So I've got, a handful of ones here. This is a big cool one of Spawn with a big cape. Here's some of the drawings of what it would look like. This is before they colored it. So this is what was underneath. This was the first thing they would draw on the acetate, on the plastic cell. So here's the sort of before it got painted, and then there's the actual cell of what it looked like. Right, boom, boom. So there's again, there's background, you put Spawn, if all of a sudden Spawn, you move the cell up.
Yeah, I mean, now we're talking about like X-Men 97 coming back. Have you ever talked to HBO about bringing the show back?
Yes, I'm telling you that movie's gonna come. The question is when I'm making that deal, who wants the animation at that? Like, I'm gonna go, I'm only here for the movie. But you could get in on the animation. I'm telling you, I think the animation would kill again. If we came back with today's technology, it would kill.
100% agree.
You'd have a movie that would work, and you'd have an animated show.
Especially if you're pushing the boundaries the way that you did in that original cartoon. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah.
I would love that.
And then eventually, then we also very quickly, in quick order, then New Line Cinema came and said, hey, Todd, you want to do a movie? Like, this would be the first time people have gotten their eyes on this stuff, actually.
Oh, wow.
So these are just concepts of like what we thought maybe the costume might look like. So we have different concepts of what, you know, maybe what Violator might look like.
When you consider that this is 1997 too, like Spawn does not get enough credit for how good that suit was. I mean, this was before we had really figured out how to make like comic book heroes.
Yeah,
look
Iron
right
Man's
on the
still
big
a decade
screen.
away.
Yes.
Iron Man's, I think people don't sort of understand, like, again, we were playing with some pretty funky ideas, some pretty big ideas of like what it could look like. But the one thing you can see is that we wanted to make it we want it organic, right? So there's a lot of organic look to it. The Violator, I mean, here he is sort of burnt, and then we were coming up with, you know, what should he look like? What should Violator look like? Again, burnt face. Again, another another concept.
That almost looks like he's mixed with a xenomorph.
Yep. So we went back and forth with a lot of designs, and then we went back and forth with a lot of designs with the clown, right? I mean, this one I thought was always kind of cool, the segmented face there.
Are there versions of Clown where John Leguizamo wouldn't have had to stand on his knees the whole time? Because it looks like there's some taller versions of Clown in here.
No, I think he was always going to be short.
Okay.
But then we did the clown, yeah. So here's sort of Clown one here. Here's another clown here. All right, just different iterations. Some of them are a little more obvious than others. All right, here's another one here. And then when you got past all that, then the question is, then you start going to, hey, what should the movie poster look like? So these are sort of some of the rejected movie posters. So none of these designs have ever been seen. All right. Was
there any movie poster that was like your second choice?
I don't remember. To me, I like
cool.
I like clarity. I mean, so some of them you'll go, no, Todd, that poster's been made. We might have used the image, but we didn't use that logo. We didn't use that look there. This, you know, again, this was a little bit thin and a little bit wispy, right? I didn't think it sort of read quite as clear as it should have. Here's one here where this is the producer making some notes on it, but we ended up using that image, but not that font.
Gotcha.
Right, was down there. So as you start to refine it and you're starting to get to where you want.
Is this the same image that you used? I don't remember him having the
I think they cut out one eye.
I think they took that, yeah.
Yeah, so we did, I mean, again, we did stuff with, hey, do you want the red? Do you want two eyes? Do you want one eye?
I like the eye there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So again, this was pretty simple logo, but again, here's the one with the one eye. The one with the one eye right there. I think this one saw the light of day. So that was might have seen, but again, there was some. Again, we got pretty crazy with some of it. I'm quite proud that, you know, Spawn is the first full-length superhero movie that the lead is a minority. Right. 2 months later, I think Blade comes out. Bam! At some point, some people go, "No, it was Blade." I'm going, "No. We beat Blade. We beat Blade by a little bit, but it was cool that a couple movies came out." Part of the reason I actually made Spawn a minority, that I thought there was plenty of white guys.
Where are we right now, and what the hell is all of this amazing stuff?
So this is like a little bit of everything along the way for the process. So somebody's giving you the 2D images of, here's the comic book, here's the video game, here's the cartoon, whatever it is. So what our job is how do you take a character that maybe isn't the coolest, but then add enough to them, give them a presence, do enough detail on them, so that you say, man, I don't know who that Man-Bat is, but that dude's rad.
He looks awesome.
Yeah. Like I'd take that guy home.
This little, all the detail is insane.
No, he's all gnarly, right?
And Clayface, I keep looking at Clayface. Like,
yeah, now he doesn't have detail, but again, because he's muddy. And, you know, you get the big mouth opening on it, so it's just sort of fun. The time that it takes to make all these is from the beginning that we say, okay, let's go, to the time you as a consumer can go, I'm in the store, I'm buying it, is about 10, 11 months.
Wow.
Right? It can be a little bit longer, and you can at times crunch it. And then within all that is then the sculpting, the prototyping of it, which is some of the stuff that you see here. I mean, everything that's orange here, we output on our machines, and we do it for two reasons. One, we want to see if the detail of the sculpt holds up, and then two, whether the actual pieces work.
Now, do you make the final call on these decisions?
I've got a good team. I mean, early in the game, I used to like have to sign off on every figure, every step, all the time. If you didn't have my initials, it doesn't go to the next step, right? But we do too much now, so I've had to basically have the trust in the good people that I hire that they're going to basically score the buckets, right? So you just hire as many Michael Jordans as you can, and you look good all the time.
So we are basically on holy ground. This is Todd's actual office, and I'm holding a Mel Gibson used Braveheart sword right now and a Spawn shield.
Mine might be just a little bit beefier at the end, right?
Yeah, you've got that's a pretty legit sword, but
they're as you can feel, they're both heavy. If you look in here, I mean, I've got some of the sports figures. You get signatures. Some of the athletes actually signed them to me, which is kind of cool. I think all these are signed by athletes. Look at this one. This is a cool one. Violator ring.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's a ring.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. You got cups. Look at, remember we talked about video games? There it is. There's the side scroll.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for showing us around today. Yeah. This might be the best day of my life.
We've seen a lot of stuff, and you geeked out on a lot of it and whatever else. I think it's all replicatable. My wish is to have there be 10 Robert Kirkmans and Walking Dead success people and 10 Todd McFarlane. I like 100 of them. It's a good life. I just wish there was 50 of these stories being told at Image Comic Books instead of a small handful. Maybe somebody watching here will go, all that I can do, all I gotta do is start now at 20? Yeah, that's it.
Before we head off, just want to thank everybody, Comicbook.com, and all of you for watching this show. Stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have plenty of news coming up in the next year that basically make this even better series. So be good. Appreciate your time.